Hey everyone, welcome back. If you enjoy heartwarming Old West romance stories, unexpected marriages, strong-willed heroines, and emotional journeys that turn strangers into soulmates, then today's story is one you won't want to miss. Set in the American frontier of the 1870s, this tale follows a lonely rancher who orders a wife through a newspaper advertisement expecting a quiet and obedient partner. But when she arrives, she proves to be nothing like he imagined. What begins with conflict and misunderstanding soon becomes a powerful story of respect, courage, and love. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing historical stories. Now sit back, relax, and let's get started. In the spring of 1874, rancher Samuel Whitaker lived alone on a remote cattle ranch outside the small frontier town of Abilene, Kansas. The endless prairie stretched for miles in every direction, broken only by rolling grasslands, scattered cottonwood trees, and the winding path of a nearby creek. Samuel had spent most of his adult life building the ranch with his own hands. Long days beneath the hot sun and bitter winters on the open plains had hardened him into a quiet and serious man. Since the death of his father several years earlier, he had carried every responsibility alone. Though the ranch was successful, the silence inside his small wooden house seemed to grow heavier with each passing season. Neighbors often suggested that he find a wife, but there were few unmarried women willing to settle in such a remote part of the West. After months of consideration, Samuel finally placed an advertisement in a newspaper that circulated through several eastern states. In simple words, he described himself as a hardworking rancher, seeking a respectable woman who would share his life and help manage his household. Once the advertisement was sent, he expected little to come from it. Several weeks later, a letter arrived from Boston, Massachusetts. It was written by a young woman named Charlotte Bennett. Unlike the brief and cautious responses he had received from others, Charlotte's letter was direct, intelligent, and surprisingly confident. She spoke about her desire for independence and her wish to build a meaningful life beyond the crowded streets of the city. Samuel found her unusual but intriguing. After exchanging several letters, he agreed to pay for her train journey west. On a warm afternoon in early summer, Samuel stood near the railway platform waiting for her arrival. When the train finally stopped and passengers began stepping onto the platform, his eyes settled on a young woman carrying a single leather suitcase. Charlotte stood tall and confident, her expression calm and determined. In that moment, Samuel realized the woman stepping off that train was nothing like the obedient ranch wife he had imagined. Charlotte's arrival brought a sudden change to life on the ranch. From the very first morning, Samuel realized she was not the kind of woman he had expected. Rather than quietly following instructions, she asked questions about everything: the cattle business, the ranch, finances, and the land itself. Samuel, accustomed to handling every decision alone, found her curiosity frustrating. He believed a wife's place was inside the home, while Charlotte believed she had just as much right to understand the ranch as he did. The weeks that followed were filled with disagreements. Charlotte learned to ride horseback and often joined Samuel on his rounds across the property. She carefully studied account books in the evenings and pointed out several mistakes that had been costing the ranch money. Though Samuel disliked being corrected, he could not deny that her observations were often right. Slowly, he began relying on her judgment more than he wished to admit. One afternoon in late summer, dark clouds gathered across the prairie. A powerful storm swept over the ranch with fierce winds and heavy rain. During the chaos, a section of fencing collapsed, allowing part of the cattle herd to scatter into the open plains. Ranch hands rushed in every direction while Samuel struggled to organize the search. Without hesitation, Charlotte mounted a horse and rode into the storm alongside the men. For hours, she helped track and gather the frightened cattle. Her courage and quick thinking prevented many animals from being lost. By nightfall, most of the herd had been safely returned. Exhausted and soaked from the rain, Samuel watched Charlotte helping the workers and realized how wrong he had been about her. Later that evening, sitting beside the warmth of the fireplace, Charlotte admitted she had answered his advertisement because she wanted a life where she could choose her own future. Samuel finally understood her determination. What began as an arrangement between strangers slowly grew into trust, respect, and eventually a deep love that neither of them had expected to find on the western frontier.